The other night, I went to a metal show with a broken foot. It wasn't that bad, but I sure as hell wasn't going to be in the mosh pit for this one. I wore my steel-toed boots, which, as it happened, did not protect the part of my foot that was broken, and figured I would just stand at the back. And, as it happened, I ended up sitting for most of the show. The venue is a really small art gallery during the day, so there's actually comfy seats near the bar. In between the first two bands, I got up to get myself a drink, and when I came back, my seat had been taken. That was fine, I figured that would happen. There's not a lot of seats there, and it was a capacity crowd. So I figured I would just lean against the wall, but then somebody came to my rescue. A young man appeared and yelled, in a friendly way, for the young guy to give my seat back, as he should respect his metal elders. I thanked him, I took my seat, I sipped my drink, and wondered when I would feel the sweet embrace of death. So my second script for this video, because I overthink everything, focused a lot more on stuff that I've done rather than how I felt about it. I don't think anything I've done is that interesting, barring the Sasquatch stuff, and the influence it has on whatever happens next is related not to what I did, but how I felt about it, and how I feel about myself. And then there was the third draft, which focused more on thoughts and prayers and feelings and woo-woo hippie stuff like that, and I still wasn't super happy with it. So what we have here is kind of an impromptu fourth draft, which is taking into account all the stuff I've done this summer. So let's see how that works. Note to self, delete this part from the script when I'm shit. I was always big. I was born 10 pounds too, a fact which my mother would use to win arguments. My folks had shirts made for me that just said tank on them from the ages of 3 to about 17. I was assumed to be several grades higher than I actually was when I was in school. Eventually, other people caught up, and I was almost average by grade 10, but then I switched schools and shot up to about 6'4" by grade 11. And I don't know if I was ever into fitness, and that's because I don't think I had a concrete concept of what that meant. My dad was my size, and he was a paramedic and a former cop, and he was tough. So that was fit, right? I had friends who were champion soccer players. They were fit. I had a Polish friend who was slightly jacked without ever really trying. And that was definitely fit, right? I was never going to be a cop, a soccer player, or Polish. So what did that leave for me? What was I working towards? Oh yeah, I didn't erase this part. I was always bullied. I know being bullied isn't about how big you are or whatever. It's something mental, it's something psychological, it's something that other people can smell on you and they pick you out of the crowd. Blah, blah, blah. Eventually, my dad put me in martial arts, a very open and welcoming Shinzen-ryu Goshindo program, where my main bully trained. My dad came from a... Hold on, I'm gonna wait for the car alarm to turn off. Not sure why a government vehicle that parked there 3 minutes ago's car alarm is going off. There we go. My dad came from a certain generation, so he thought this would be good for me. He also thought my bully was my friend, so there were some communication issues there. He also bought me a Weider concrete weight set, identical to the one you're seeing me set up in this video, and the book Getting Stronger by Bill Pearl, and eventually a heavy bag that we hung from a joist in the basement. I could shake the entire kitchen by hitting it. And I loved using all this stuff, but I was never consistent. I'd forget for days or weeks. Then I'd do a little lifting, feel a little tired, assume that was enough, pretend I was building muscle, and kinda give up again. So I gained about 100 pounds between the ages of 19 and 21. At that point in my life, I was living off macaroni and cheese and salt and vinegar chips. I'd gotten my girlfriend pregnant, gotten fired from my gas station jobs, racked up some bills, and had 2 cars catch fire. So there were some circumstances in my life. We moved around a bunch of shitty apartments. I got back into college. I worked my butt off. And looking back, I genuinely don't know what I look like. I assumed I was still fit. After all, it was only a couple of years before this I had competed in open martial arts tournaments and could do full Van Damme splits. I don't think I ever looked in the mirror. Not really. But bit by bit, I realized I was well over 300 pounds. 337 was the highest I ever remember hitting on a scale. I managed to get some cheap Weider weights again from a garage sale and started working out. But I was also somebody who exists and subsists purely on praise and feedback. So when no one cared that I was working out, and in fact complained that me working out was inconvenient to their schedules, I stopped. Eventually we took a bigger leap. I got a job down south in a vacation town, making okay money. We were up to 3 kids, but with a little help we managed to afford a house on the outskirts of the outskirts. And that might be the happiest time in all of our lives. My kids nowadays look back on when we lived in the pink house as the greatest time. I miss that. We had bunk beds and a laundry chute. It was so cool. I bought more weights. I built a punching bag out of a thick wooden dowel, carpet underlay, and duct tape. And I started running. I got into running. If you could believe somebody my size running. My local internet group over on XKCD had a 1-minute mile fitness thing. So over the course of the summer, improve your 1 mile running time by 1 minute. Since I was starting from terrible, I took mine from 11 minutes 30 seconds to just over 8 minutes. I started running 2 miles, then 3 miles regularly. 3 miles being 5K up here in Canada, and there's a lot of 5K runs. When I got fired from that job, I became a stay-at-home dad and joined the volunteer fire department, and I got in better shape. And then I got my dream job. I was the mobile food service contract for the biggest beach in the area. I fixed up a battered old hot dog cart, and for 3 months, I worked 12-hour days selling hot dogs and sausages and popcorn and soda on the beach in summer in a vacation town. I met everyone, I ate hot dogs and drank Diet Coke all day, I got a tan, and I lost 40 pounds not working out in the slightest. I was too busy to work out. I was there 7 days a week. At the end of the summer, we ran the numbers, and I made minimum wage. Minimum wage for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it wasn't paying the bills. So since we like food and electricity, I got a job way up north. And suddenly we could afford things. My kids got music lessons. I bought a minivan that could fit all of us at the same time. My wife went back to school and got a degree. Her being in school meant we had free admission to the university gym, which is the nicest gym for 500 kilometers in any direction. I started going to MMA and found a renewed interest in combat sports. I entered a few competitions and did poorly. That's a topic for a different video. But I also did some charity boxing events wearing a Sasquatch costume. I did very well. I was better at boxing and being hit in the head. Go figure. I lost some weight. I got stronger. My back squats were up to about 245 when I was... Sorry, the cat is attacking me. My back squats were up to about 245 just before I did my last fight, and I actually kind of felt okay about myself. Then, my MMA coach destroyed my knee, my mom died, COVID hit, and I stopped caring about anything. But now, I'm back? Again, maybe? I bought an Olympic bar and some weights, thank you Facebook Marketplace, so I could have an easier time with squatting. I liked squatting. It was the legs, it was the body, it was everything. I thought that would make the biggest difference in my life, especially since as a bigger guy, my back is shit. And even getting out of bed first thing in the morning is an exercise in agony and patience. I've had a homemade squat rack for a while now, which you're also probably seeing me set up. and I have to add another gusset to it for my kid. My youngest is 16, and he is getting into weightlifting now. I want to start jogging again this year, now that my dog will actually let me leave the house without losing her shit, and you can tell how long ago this script was written, because I have not started jogging again this year because I still cannot leave the house without my dog completely losing her shit. Also, I cannot jog with her because the second I accelerate to a jog, she basically tries to herd me. So she'll get right in front of me, slam on the brakes, get kicked, and then start biting my hand to drag me back to where I started. Because she's helping. And since this script has been in the memory hole for so long, since I wrote it, I've stopped using my Olympic bar. You want to know why? I got into sandbags. Sandbags are my new thing. And at first I was really worried it was going to be a flash in the pan, ooh, look at me, I have another fun toy to play with. But I found a fitness channel on YouTube called The Stone Circle. And I gotta say, finding a fitness and specifically weightlifting channel on YouTube, it's really only a matter of time before you find out the person is a chud or an incel or worse. But gosh darn it, Stone Circle just seems like a nice guy who lives for fitness and wants to help other people. I've seen dozens of his videos, there are no red flags. Maybe he likes The Witcher a little too much, but who doesn't have our flaws, right? He has recently managed to achieve a double body weight sandbag to shoulder lift. He had to cut down to 150 pounds, but he then lift a 300-pound sandbag onto his shoulder. And that is inspirational as fuck. And to be honest, I am tired of working out with bars. So I got a sandbag. I got one rated for 100 pounds. I filled it with 2 sandbags worth of sand. I don't know where you are listening to this, but up here in Canada, they sell sandbags year-round for traction because we have a shitload of snow. And they're about 40-45 pounds each. So I dumped 2 sandbags worth of sand into my sandbag, weighed it, and it's about 90 pounds. So it's a hair shy of the 100-pound max, but I figured I would start a little bit lighter. And I have had a ton of fun just lifting this sandbag, doing lifts to knees, lifts to chest, lift over shoulder, doing high carries, doing overhead press. Because it's not a bar, it's like an actual physical, tangible, real-world object that is difficult to get a grip on. It's a lot more like something I'll actually deal with. We do a lot of gardening, so I'm digging up sod, I am hauling the wheelbarrow, I am dragging 100 pounds of dirt around all the time. I can make this a whole body workout if I want to. It's great. I also built a sledge out of an old tire, so I put like a little wooden floor inside the tire, cut a hole in it to run a rope through, and I can fill the tire with all of my old Olympic bar weights. It's not like it's the old Olympic bar that sits in the corner collecting dust. My son's going to start using it soon. But I do have some 35-pound plates that no one's going to need for a while. So I load, 70 or 100 pounds of weight in this tire, and then I pull it for 40 feet of rope, and that's an amazing back exercise. And it's a lot more fun than just doing endless squats, endless bench press, endless arm curls, yada yada yada. And these days, now that I'm getting tiny bits of me time again, for the first time in decades, that is what has caused me to once again rethink this script. Because I've had to spend a lot of time thinking about what fitness is. What does it mean to me? What do I want to get out of this? And I'm not going to lie, in the early days, I just wanted to look good. I wanted people to look at me and go, huh, look at him. He has muscle. He meets our baseline of attractiveness. Fun fact, I never did. During the middle years, fitness just meant I wanted to keep up with my MMA gym, but the newbies consistently surpassed me after a couple of years, or sometimes months. But these are gym rats in their early 20s, with a surprising amount of money and no kids. They could put a lot more effort and dedication in than I could. And I'm not saying that people with shit jobs and kids can't get fit. I'm saying I couldn't. Later on after that, I wanted to get in better shape just to be a good role model for my kids. Have my kids not be the ones who have the fat dad. But my mental state was not solid enough to keep that going for very long. Even though they were very supportive of the fights I went to, the fights I entered, they would sit in the stands, they actually cheered. They bragged to their friends that I got to wear a Sasquatch costume in Las Vegas and knock somebody out. But still, I was the fat dad. Rocky? I like Rocky. A lot of people don't realize just how small the first movie was. There's 3 minutes of poorly lit fighting, 100 minutes of character study, and then the final fight. That's it. In the sequels, Rocky is a very dangerous man at literally all times, except maybe the first half of Rocky Balboa. But when Mickey comes to Rocky, hat in hand, and bares his soul, Rocky rejects him, Rocky excoriates him, and then forgives him, and then takes Mickey into his home and allows himself to be trained. And that first training day where he wakes up and cracks the eggs and swallows them and does his run, he fails. He's wobbling, he's clutching his sides as he climbs the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and perhaps most critically, he doesn't make it to the top of the steps. He gets like 2/3 of the way up, takes several breaths, looks like he's holding back vomit by sheer will, and then stumbles down the steps to take the long, shitty run home. 6 decades of Rocky movies, and that is the Rocky montage that means the most to me. He was not Rocky the champ. He was not Rocky the contender. He was Rocky, the fighter with heart and no goals. Heart but no direction. Heart but no discipline. And that scene with Mickey is him having to break his own heart in order to let himself be helped. To allow himself to be given discipline, direction, and goals. I'm not Rocky, I'm just saying that was a great scene. That was completely unrelated to the topic of this video. Sorry, I just go off on tangents like that. So what does fitness mean for me now? I think mostly it means I don't want to die young. My mom passed away a few years ago. My best friend from childhood passed away last spring. My wife and mine's oldest adult friend passed away last summer after winning the dream home lottery, but before moving into it. And my dad passed away just a few months ago. I've been dealing with infrequent cardiac arrhythmia for the last couple of years, which is apparently just something that happens to overweight men in their 40s. The doctor's not concerned, the hospital is not concerned. It's kind of like if you have a heart attack, come back and we'll deal with it. My back hurts every morning. I sit for work all day, and I sit for hobbies all night. My knees and my ankles are shot. The left one might never be alright again after what my coach did to it. And in a couple of years, the kids are going to be out of the house and on their own. Hopefully. And I'll be in charge of all my time again. I'm pretty young for being an empty nester. Being a teen dad will do that to you. But I'm still past the age where I can easily build new muscle. And I'm past the time where I can recover from a hard workout in only a day or two. And I am well into the age where permanent, not damage, but bumps and dings and scratches really start to pile up. If I had been fit in my 20s and 30s, I'd no doubt be in a much better position today. But no matter how hard I work, now, I'm not going to be in the kind of shape at 50 than I could have been if I'd started 10 or 5 or even 2 years ago. So what does fitness mean for me now? It means I'm making the best of a bad situation. It means doing something is better than doing nothing. It means coming to terms with the fact that I'm never going to knock someone out in a ring ever again. It means accepting that I'm going to be in the seniors category for the next Storm the Hill fun run. It means I'm finally doing something about my diet, maybe trying to figure out if it really is an eating disorder. It means being honest about what I want. It means forgiving myself for my failures. It means putting in effort every single day. even if that effort is resting well, but not at the expense of not having a life worth living. And to perhaps paraphrase the McElroys, it means getting out of bed every morning and saying, "Not today, death."